Raise your hand if you are sick and tired of all the outdated, confusing, and let's just be real, unsustainable fat loss advice that's out there. And for once and for all, you want the simple, streamlined, and sustainable approach outlined for you in easy to understand format so you can actually start losing body fat, getting ripped, and feeling good about your body again. Well, in today's video, I'm going to give you my best advice and tips from having coached over 7,000 guys over the past 15 plus years. And I'm just going to lay it out for you. We're going to do minimal editing, if any. And I'm going to tell you the stuff that you need to hear and also the stuff that you probably want to hear too to give you more peace of mind. So let's jump into the first thing you need to know about fat loss so that you can actually get started today when it comes to your fat loss goals. And that number one thing is you have to burn more calories than you eat. Now, you've probably heard this a million times by now because the internet has finally caught on to this whole thing called the calorie deficit. And it took me, unfortunately, 10 plus years to figure this out. But once I did, I've been able to stay lean relatively easily because this is the number one rule. You have to burn more calories than you eat if you want to lose body fat. There's no way around that. Now, where it gets interesting is how we establish a calorie deficit because most diets out there are going to do it in one major extreme way, which for the most part puts most diets in the unsustainable category. What you'll see from most diets out there is they tell you to cut one nutrient out of your diet, or at least almost cut it completely out. So the most common one over the past 10 plus years has been cutting out carbs. Now, that gets disguised these days as saying don't eat sugar, right? When we all know at the end of the day, you shouldn't be eating too much of anything, right? Our common sense typically leads us to that conclusion. Like too much of anything is not good. But these diets that we find hard to stick with tell you you have to eliminate one nutrient. And all they're really trying to do is lower your total calories, all right? Total calories are just all the energy combined from the food that you eat that goes into your body, gets utilized for your day-to-day processes, your brain functionality, all the movement you do, the training you do. That's what we, get out of food is energy, right? And so we just measure that energy in this way called a calorie. So we have to establish a calorie deficit. Now, what I'm going to tell you next is really, really important. How we get lean is going to be massive when it comes to our long-term success. And so we have to choose a methodology that is very sustainable, at least in the beginning, because we have to build a foundation around the habits that we have with our nutrition. So this is why, for the most part, with the clients I work with, we do what's called a balanced approach. Okay. We have a high amount of protein, but not crazy high, right? Usually about 30% to 35% of our total calories come from protein. And then the rest of our calories, we basically split down the middle for the most part. Now, this is not a cookie cutter approach, so everyone's going to be a little different. But we typically want everyone we work with to have some carbs and some fats, unless there's some kind of medical condition that will require a different type of approach. Now, by the way, I should say, I wrote a book called Diets Suck, which I think you'd agree with the title pretty quickly, right? Diets do suck. So if you want a free copy of this, I'm actually giving away digital copies. If you want a signed copy, they're on Amazon. But if you want a digital copy that you can just put on your phone and read through, it's a quick read. Just comment the word team, TEAM. And the reason why is I'll add you to our free team where I give you my free book, a bunch of other in-depth trainings around fat loss, especially because I help guys lose 30 pounds in 90 days. So this is free for you today, and because we're going to talk a lot about nutrition in this video. So we got the calorie deficit, all right? How many calories should you eat? Well, I promise no gatekeeping in this video. I want to give you the tried and true method that I find gets you close to the right spot. For most people, if you take your goal body weight, and don't overthink this, okay? I don't want you going, man, what should my goal body weight be? Just think about the weight where you're more than likely going to feel good about how you look, all right? You might have abs. You might be starting to see abs, but you get down to a weight where you're like, wow, I'm super pumped to be at this weight. Take that number and multiply it by 10 to 13. Okay. Now it's a wide range. So if your goal body weight is 200 pounds, that would be 2,000 calories to 2,600 calories. It's a pretty big range, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to live in that range for a period of time, usually a couple weeks, so we can figure out, are you losing weight in that range? And we need some time to do that. It's not going to happen in a day or 2 days or 3 days or anything like that. Okay. That's a good place to start with total calories. Now, protein, because that's the number one nutrient, and we'll talk about nutrients probably as we get through this video here, but protein is the number one nutrient for many different reasons. How much protein should you be eating every day? Well, about a gram per pound of goal body weight. So 200 pounds multiplied by 1 is 200. So 200 grams of protein per day is a good target. You may be a little bit under that some days, you may be a little over that some days. Once again, perfection is for most people the enemy of progress. So we're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to be really, really close to the target most days. Now, let's talk about the next thing that most people jump right into when trying to lose body fat, and that is going to the gym, right? Or working out at home or wherever you train. People think workouts, like going and lifting weights for 30 to 45 minutes, is going to burn all sorts of fat. Well, that's actually a huge mistake, all right? And part of why I'm able to teach guys how to work out in like 20 minutes or 10 minutes in some cases, guys who are just incredibly busy or just really don't like going to the gym and need to build some momentum. There's this whole concept that I'm about to share with you that I think is going to hopefully change how you look at workouts. And it's simply this: training is for building muscle or retaining muscle. Or a third option down the road, once you're healthy and fit, could be for performance-based goals. Like I'm doing this thing called a high rocks a few times a year now. So some of my workouts during some times of the year are for performance. I'm trying to get better at an activity. But most of the time, I'm just trying to go in to build muscle or keep the muscle that I already have built over the years. Now, the problem that I see with people who train who are trying to lose fat is they think workouts are there to burn the fat. So they go in and they do like CrossFit style workouts, or they go in and they do circuits, or they lighten the weight so they do more reps and more sets and less rest and all this stuff to build a sweat, and your body temperature goes up and you're like, man, I must be burning a lot of fat. When in reality, you're not. Unfortunately, you're probably nowhere near as many calories as your little smartwatch tells you you're burning. And the problem is you're not sending muscle building signals to the body. Now, why is this important? Muscle is metabolically demanding, meaning when you carry a decent amount of muscle, you actually burn more calories, which, of course, makes it easier to get into a calorie deficit. Because if you naturally burn X amount of calories, maybe it's 3,000 calories a day, well, guess what? As long as you're eating less than 3,000 calories a day, you're technically in a calorie deficit. So you'll be burning more fat. But if you're not carrying a lot of muscle, well, then that 3,000 calorie number might be 2,000 calories. Or if you're not even training for muscle at all, it might be even less than that. So muscle is really important long term, not just for fat loss, but for overall health. When you have a decent amount of muscle, we're not talking crazy here. We're talking athletic, lean, defined, just very, very good looking muscle, right? That's toned and just enough definition to feel good about yourself. You're going to have a better chance of fighting off metabolic diseases. You're going to just be healthier from an injury prevention standpoint. And of course, you're going to look awesome, which is what a lot of the guys I work with want right out of the gate, right? They're like, man, I'm just sick and tired of looking like crap, so I want to look good. So we get them there, all right? So use your workouts to build muscle. This is why I can tell guys, go work out 3 days a week for 30 minutes, because we don't need to burn a lot of calories. We're going to take care of that in other ways. We just need to go in and get stronger. We need to go in and get stronger every single month, hopefully. If we're not getting stronger, we can swap exercises out and we can work on exercises where we have more potential to get stronger. And over time, you're going to build strength from a variety of angles, a variety of exercises. And yeah, over time, you're not going to have that much variety. You'll be doing a lot of the same movements, but you'll have built a lot of muscle. So over time, your goal will switch from building more muscle to just sustaining it, right? Stimulating muscle, which is great because it's a lot easier to keep muscle than it is to build muscle. So more on that maybe in another video. But let's talk about how we're going to actually burn calories. By the way, I talk a lot about this in my book, Diets Suck. It's free. It's not just a diet book. I talk a lot about training. I actually, I believe it's chapter 10, I go through like 15 case studies of clients. So you get some ideas on how to set up your workouts. If you want a copy, just comment the word team. Or if you want, just write the word Diet Sucks. I'll see it either way. And I'll add you to our free community where I will post a link to download a free copy of this so you have it on your phone. All right. How are we going to burn calories? I told you this is no nonsense, straightforward advice. And I'm going to tell you the best form of cardio that you're probably not doing is walking. I know everybody wants to do the crazy circuits. Everyone wants to hop on the bike and the Peloton and, the Stairmaster and all that fun stuff. And there's definitely nothing wrong with those types of cardio. Just want to be real here. If you love Peloton, if you're just obsessed with doing some kind of circuit training, fine. But I'm going to tell you, you're missing out because walking is easy to implement. In fact, I could be walking while I'm talking right now. I have a walking treadmill behind me. You can kind of see it on my floor in my office here. That if I set it up right here, I could literally just raise my desk and I could walk at a very leisurely pace while I'm talking to you while I'm working. So I'm burning more calories than I would be by then just sitting here. Okay. Now I am just sitting here because I just walked actually. I've already gotten a few thousand steps for the day because I walk in the morning. Now, I'm not telling you when to walk. I think the best times of the day to walk are the times you can actually get out and walk. But a few things that have helped some of my clients over the years is starting their day with movement. Okay, so maybe taking their dogs for a walk, maybe getting a little extra with the dogs in the morning to burn more calories. Setting up meetings with coworkers or business partners where you're actually going for a walk and talking together versus sitting out on a Zoom call or a desk or whatever. Get out and move. During meetings, if you can walk. If you can set aside a few minutes after lunch to walk or a few minutes after dinner to walk, take your kids out to the park, run around. Just think about all the things you do every day that could include walking. This is how we burn more calories. This is how we create a bigger calorie deficit. And this is really how my best clients actually get faster results. So without, overcomplicating their life, they're able to build in more movement. And I know a lot of the haters who are watching this video right now, the guys who are like total dweebs, I'm just going to be honest, who just love to hate are going to be like, this is so simple. You're not talking about the cool, advanced, complicated stuff, right? Well, I get it. But if you look around, like 80% of people are overweight. Okay. So clearly the simple stuff needs to be talked about more. Sure, I will talk about some advanced stuff here in a minute. Peptides, calorie cycling, fasting. I'll share some of the cool stuff, but that stuff is like 1 to 5% of the game. This is the stuff you have to master. The walking, the training for muscle, and the calorie deficit. You get those things dialed in, you're going to be off to the races. Now, I know this is supposed to be a fat loss video, and it is, but I want to share something and give you an understanding of why do people hire coaches to tell them this stuff, right? Well, they don't hire me to tell them this stuff. That's a huge misconception. Why do people come to our program? Which, by the way, you can learn all about it in the description of this video. I just think it's important. This is a good tip for you if you're watching at this point, because there's something to be said about buying back your time, right? All this stuff is simple to understand, but it's not always easy to implement. Implementation is what people invest in. Implementation is something you might need to invest in because you might understand all this, but be like, why can't I do it? Well, because you got no skin in the game. Right? One of the best pieces of advice someone ever gave me is if you want to do something big, you got to get skin in the game. I've invested literally millions of dollars, and that's going to sound like a huge number, but I have invested that much into my business over the years. That's why my business has made multiple millions of dollars, because I've invested and I've gotten lots of skin in the game, from investing in employees, investing in software, investing in learning how to run a business better, investing in how to become a better CEO. I've invested 6 figures into YouTube, and YouTube has paid me back tenfold over the past 15 years of being in business. I don't have the biggest account, but guess what? I don't want the biggest account. I want the best people who want to hear my message. Now, why am I talking about business all of a sudden? Because fat loss is the same thing. If you are determined to get in shape, I promise you, you are going to be your worst coach. Why? Because you're going to second guess everything. Your emotions are at times going to take over. Your stress levels are going to skyrocket. What you really need is someone to take the reins and do the hard lifting for you. Not the actual lifting in the gym, but the planning, the program design, telling you how many steps to take, what foods to eat. All that stuff just takes mental energy. And that's why people invest in a coach in a community, because they don't want to do that themselves. They want to save time. They want to save energy. They could be putting into other things, and they want to build motivation. The fastest way to build motivation, have something to lose. When you have something to lose, whether it's your pride, your ego, money, or whatever, you're more than likely to do it. Okay, let's talk about the next thing. Sleep. All right. Sleep is so underrated. I can't believe more fitness coaches aren't talking about this, but I find that when I get a poor night's sleep, pretty much everything gets a lot more poor. And that definitely impacts fat loss. Fat loss, besides the obvious of, hey, when you're sleeping, you're not eating, you're still burning calories. So if you're sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night, well, that's 7 to 8 hours you're not eating. And your body is going to have to tap into energy to sustain your life while you sleep. The other thing, though, is when you get a poor night's sleep, your cortisol level is through the roof. And when your cortisol level is through the roof, you crave junk, you crave sugar, you crave quick, easy, and your motivation to train goes way down. And more than likely, you're going to be a lot more sedentary throughout the day. Why? You just don't have energy. You're tired. So you're sitting down more. You're not walking as much. And then that leads to getting in a mental rut. Because when you don't hit your goals, you feel like you missed something. You want to beat yourself up, and then you get even more stressed, more anxious, more pissed off, right? And you're like, dang, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. And you start to second guess yourself. And then that can put you into a hole pretty quickly with fat loss. So all I'm going to tell you is this: have a sleep routine, have a sleep system. By the way, I told you about my free book, but guess what else I got? I got a whole sleep protocol. I'm in the group, in my team, our free group, by the way, for coaching. It's free. Jump in. I'll put my sleep protocol up for you. If you want the sleep protocol, just comment the word sleep or comment the word team below, and I'll add you to our group for free. And you'll get my sleep protocol for free. So you can actually sleep better and lose more fat. All right. But sleep is a huge, huge deal. Let's get that fixed. And I promise you, you'll lose fat a lot more consistently. So speaking of consistently, let's talk about consistency. How do we have consistency? Like, I know most of you are struggling with consistency. I think one big tip that has helped a lot of our clients is during the week, you might have a specific plan, but then the wheels come off on the weekends. The problem is you're trying to follow a plan that doesn't make sense for the weekends. It makes sense for the normal workday, but what about the days where you travel? What about the days where you got to take the kids into 10 different places? What about date nights? What about social life? You need maybe 2 or 3 plans to cover a 7-day stretch, because sometimes the plan should require you to purposely mess up your diet. All right. It sounds crazy, but you got to have a plan that encompasses all parts of your life. And I think consistency is only built properly when you account for the things that are your non-negotiables. And I don't mean non-negotiables like I'm going to, hit my steps non-negotiable. I mean non-negotiables like, hey, when I go to the movies with my kids, we're going to have popcorn. And that's just something I want to enjoy with my kids. And I'm literally not going to not do that, because abs are cool and I want abs and I really want to lose these 30 pounds in the next 90 days. But I want popcorn with my kids a couple times during that stretch as well. And I'm not willing to say no to that just to get abs. Maybe that's you. Now, some of you are going to be like, I can do without the popcorn. I don't need the popcorn. I can pack a protein bar and take it into the theater and eat that while my kids eat popcorn. That could be your plan. This is why customization is so important, which is another thing to think about. Customization leads to consistency. When you look at the plan and go, that makes perfect sense for me. This fits my life. This fits my schedule. This fits my needs, my wants, and my desires. Then you're more than likely going to be more consistent. But life happens. So what is the other thing that leads to more consistency? Well, I'd say the ability to manage your stress and emotions. When we have stress management and emotional regulation in place, we're less likely to slip and lose sight of our goals. So stress management could mean something like training ourselves to go for a walk when we're super stressed out, because a walk can lower our stress levels. It can help us think better, right? Emotional regulation. We might have some rules in place, like I call it the 30-minute rule for cravings. When you have this like out of control craving, it's important to have craving killers, right? Foods that you can actually eat that allow you to enjoy something. But we also got to have some time that we put in place to get past some of these moments of weakness. These are emotional regulators. These are things that help us see more clearly, because in the moment when we're pissed off, stressed out, we're in traffic, all we want to do is get something to eat. We're starving, and the first thing we see is Taco Bell, right? Well, we want to pull into the driveway or into the drive-through instead of going home to the driveway and making a healthy taco at home. We want fast, convenient, easy, because we're trying to fix something that's pressing us right now. And we need to have some rules in place, because rules are good. The right rules are good, right? The right systems are going to lead you to better emotional regulation, which then, of course, will lead to less stress, less anxiety, and then less regret long term because you actually stuck with your plan. Now, the other thing too here is self belief. Consistency is going to happen more frequently when we believe in ourselves. This might sound like we're talking less about fat loss and more about personal development, but I'd say fitness is one of the biggest personal development tools. You might be super successful with your career. Maybe you've built a great family life, but you're overweight, unhealthy, and potentially losing years on your life. And honestly, that's a problem, right? Because we haven't fully developed ourselves and we don't have the self belief in certain key areas like our health and fitness that could be easily fixed. How do we build more self belief? Well, we got to have sustainable systems that we can check the box with every single day so we can build confidence in ourselves, right? Like a lot of these fitness programs, like I mentioned earlier, are just so complicated that we're not able to stick with it. So our self-belief goes way down. Like we just think we're not capable. We think it's too late. We're too old. Our metabolism's too slow. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy, right? Like I'm never going to get there because I don't have what it takes. It's just not true. It's not true. And I can prove it to you when you follow a simple system like our 3M system that guys in our program follow. But as we build self-belief, then our momentum builds. And when momentum builds, guess what builds right along with it? Consistency, right? And all of a sudden, it feels normal to do the right things. All of a sudden, you're like, man, I can't believe I wasted so many years trying this complicated crap, all these stupid supplements. Like, I wasted so much time and money. Why did I just do this? But that's part of the journey. I'll just tell you that. It's part of the journey. The only reason you know something works so well is more than likely you followed a lot of stuff that didn't work so well. So it's kind of just the circle of life, if you will. You got to go through the nonsense, the junk, the didn't work phase, all that stuff to get the stuff that actually makes sense. It's just kind of the way things work. Now, let's talk about some advanced stuff because I promised you I would give you some more nitty gritty, like real deal stuff. Okay. Now, first thing I'll say, don't use this stuff until you have the basics. I'm going to tell you that till I'm blue in the face. It will be tempting to say, cool, I'm going to use this advanced stuff. I'm going to get results quicker, even though I've never proven that I can hit, my 3Ms every day, movement, muscle, meals. Don't do that. I promise you'll get more frustrated because this stuff will become very difficult very quickly if you don't understand the basics. Now, I'm not saying you got to follow the basics for 300 years before you can use the advanced stuff. Most guys who come in our program want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days, want to look good with their shirt off, want to get abs. And so within the first 90 days, we build a foundation. And then quickly thereafter, we implement fasting, we implement peptides, we implement stuff, if it makes sense for them, of course, stuff that will speed up the results because they've built the momentum using the basics. All right, so let's do something very simple here. Let's talk about fasting. Fasting is simply not eating food. That's it. Like, it's not that magical. It can be magical for one specific reason. It builds a bigger calorie deficit. So when you have a bigger calorie deficit and your appetite isn't as crazy as you thought it might be, well, all of a sudden you're losing fat faster. That's pretty much it. Okay. Now, it also is a really good appetite control tool. So if you're more hungry at night, then fasting will allow you to skip breakfast and eat more at night. This is an advanced tool because not a lot of people are used to this. They come in having been eating around the clock and all of a sudden they're like, wait, I can't eat for 24 hours or I can't eat for 16 hours. What am I going to do? Am I going to die? Is my metabolism going to crash? Like, what's happening? What I can tell you is none of that's going to happen if you do things the right way. Of course, not everyone's going to be able to adapt to fasting the same way. So full disclosure, some people don't fast and that's totally fine. But fasting can be very powerful to speed up fat loss. So what we do with a lot of clients is we have alternate day fasting. Some days you'll eat normal on a normal schedule, and then you'll fast for 24 hours. But every day you'll have food. It's just you might wait 24 hours to eat in some cases. So if your last meal is at 8 o'clock tonight, we might implement a 24-hour fast and eat tomorrow night at 8 o'clock in very small calorie-controlled meal just to tie you over to the next day where you'll go back to eating normal. Some people fast every day for like 16 to 20 hours. They get up, they do all their work, they stay busy, they stay hydrated, they caffeinate, and then they eat, a couple meals later in the day. And that works for them. And that speeds up fat loss because they're able to build a bigger calorie deficit, right? You get the point here. Now let's talk about peptides. Peptides have become all the rage, right? Ozempic is a big one. It's a GLP-1. It helps you not want to eat food. Pretty straightforward. But there's more advanced stuff, okay, that helps you do things like increase your growth hormone output. Pretty powerful. There's also some stuff that helps control insulin, makes you more or less dependent on food, right? Like, so there's something called retatrutide, super powerful peptide that some of our clients have utilized and experienced massive breakthroughs when it comes to their fat loss. Now, I could do an in-depth training on peptides, and I probably will at some point. I'm going to do one in our free group. So if you want a copy of my book, if you want the sleep protocol, and you want the peptide protocols, just comment the word team below and I'll add you to our group. And then, of course, why am I adding you to our group for free? Well, we hope to build a trusting relationship with you where you become a client inside of our coaching program. You become one of our next Hall of Fame transformations. People who have gone through our program, made a 180 on their health and fitness, they have abs, they lose 30 pounds in 90 days, and then they go on to do amazing things with their health and fitness. If that is someone you want to be, okay, then maybe when the time is right, you'll decide to have a chat with us and become one of our team members. But in the meantime, let's get you more results so that you actually trust our systems and you want to invest. All right, that's pretty much it. So peptides are great. Fasting is great when used appropriately. Are there other supplements out there? Well, maybe. I think creatine is a good supplement just for training purposes. It is a muscle performance supplement, and I think it's great. I think everyone who can handle creatine should be taking creatine. Monohydrate is my go-to. I think vitamin D3 is important to take. I think fish oil is important to take. These are for more health reasons, but listen, when you're healthy, it's going to be easier to lose body fat. When you're unhealthy, the whole goal is get healthy, right? Most likely you're carrying too much fat, you're inflamed, you don't feel good, your energy's down, you're eating processed crap, you're eating too much sugar, and you feel like crap, and you've kind of gotten used to feeling like crap. So when you start cleaning all that up through better dietary choices, more movement, training in the gym a few times a week, well, all of a sudden you're like, dang, I don't think I need all these supplements because I just needed to clean up my lifestyle. Huge, right? Huge. Now, we haven't really talked about goal setting, but I think one of the biggest issues with fat loss is people have unrealistic expectations. This is kind of like with everything in life, right? People who start a business online, they're like, I'm going to be a millionaire in like 2 months. Nah, unless you're really freaking smart and you already have a proven concept and like you know how to scale, it's probably not going to happen. It's going to take some time. Same with fat loss. People really overestimate how much they can accomplish in a very short period of time, and they underestimate how much they can accomplish in longer periods of time. This is why we don't work with anybody one-on-one for less than 3 months. In fact, most of our clients work with us for 6 months, sometimes even a year. Why? Because they want to do a lot. Right? They want to get ripped, they want to get abs, but then they decide they want to build more muscle, they want a performance goal. So they realize it's not all going to happen in a short period of time. I know it's not the sexiest thing you want to hear, but it is the truth. How much should you expect in terms of weight loss in certain periods of time? I hesitate to give you a number, but what I'll tell you is a lot of our guys who have a lot of fat to lose can lose 30 pounds in 90 days. However, I have worked with people who've only lost 20 pounds in 90 days, 15 pounds in 90 days. I've also had some guys come in and do crazy stuff and just go all in, and they've lost 40 pounds in 90 days, 50 pounds in 90 days. But I don't promise that because that's not something that I think everybody can do. The average is around 25 to 30 pounds in 90 days because our systems flat out work, but they are also doing the work. They buy in 100%. Over time, it really just depends on where you're starting from and then where you want to be. Getting down to super shredded levels will require a little bit more time because the body wants to hold on to fat as you get leaner and leaner and leaner. So I think the biggest takeaway here in terms of expectations is this has to become who you are. Your identity has to start to include being healthy and fit versus looking at health and fitness as like hobby or this thing that you do sometimes. It's like brushing your teeth is a daily practice. Health and fitness has to have a daily part of your life. It doesn't always incorporate the gym. It doesn't mean you're going to go and do this crazy diet every day. But doing something for your health, whether it's walking, eating better, sleeping better, that just has to become part of who you are. And when it becomes part of who you are, well, it gets a lot easier at that point. And then the timeline starts to become less and less of a factor. Now, I do think it's a good idea to have some targets throughout the year. We have this protocol inside of our program called the 3 Peak Protocol. 3 main goals that you're going to hit throughout the year. A physique protocol, a performance protocol, and a personal protocol. 3 big goals that we go after every year that allow you to stay motivated, disciplined, and determined to get there. But 3 different parts of fitness. They're not all fat loss focused. They're not all performance focused. It's not all muscle building focused. It's really a system that allows you to allows you to stay interested and enjoying fitness throughout the year versus getting burnt out, always worried about losing fat, right? Always worried about aesthetics. It's our 3-peak protocol. Anyway, that's more stuff we cover inside of our actual program. But I'm going to stop here and just tell you life moves fast, make it count, okay? And making it count comes with being fit and healthy. If you want to have the maximum quality and quantity of years, I think health and fitness is a big part of that. So I'll just end it with this. If you haven't got a copy of my book, Diets Suck, you can get a free copy by commenting Diets Suck or the word team below this video. I'll add you to our free coaching group where I'll share my sleep protocol, my peptide protocol, and weekly deep dives into topics that will help you get ripped, get down in weight, lose body fat permanently, and make it all sustainable and enjoyable in the process. All right. That's it. Josiah Novak, The True Transformation. I will talk to you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Life moves fast. Make it count. Peace.